awesome. Right, we got our audience, which is coming on. We're live. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to our weekly webinar. The clock has struck noon here in our Cape Town studio, and we're really excited to kick off another engaging and informative webinar session. I'm Neil Peterson. I'm the founder and content-in-chief of Real Estate Investor, South Africa's leading independent platform for real estate content, education, and news since 2007. And I'm thrilled to be your host and moderator for today's investment webinar. We're delighted to have you join us for what promises to be really an insightful and valuable discussion today. And at REI, we're dedicated to supporting South African real estate investors, the real estate industry, and property business community through our digital platforms, rei.co.za, our monthly magazine, Real Estate Investor, and our investment webinars, seminars, and live investor event. So today's topic is investor excellence and property trailblazers. We're going to meet the three category winners of the 2024 Investor of the Year Awards, and also our overall winner. And I will introduce you to them a little bit later. So first, a little bit of housekeeping. So if you've registered for today's webinar, we will send you a recording via email after the event. For those who haven't registered yet, you can find the recording on the homepage on the rei.co.za website under the events and webinars section. So we encourage both new and returning guests to engage actively and ask questions throughout the webinar. You submit your questions in the Q&A box. It's located at the bottom right-hand side of the screen, and the chat box is reserved for general comments. So let's just jump into the core of today's session, Investor Excellence and Property Trailblazers. The recent Investor of the Year Awards held at Shepstone Gardens in Johannesburg highlighted incredible stories of South Africans achieving really remarkable real estate success against the odds. And really today, I think it's an opportunity to meet these people, to find out how they did that and how you can learn from their experiences. And the Investor of the Year Awards celebrate ordinary South Africans doing extraordinary things in property investment. From township entrepreneurs who started their investor journeys, renting out rooms and expanding portfolios, to managing buildings, and to women who've defied the odds to become landlords. And the award shines a spotlight on the stories of everyday South Africans who created possibilities. And I think it really is an opportunity for you to learn from these people. So without further delay, let me introduce our distinguished guest panelists. And I'm going to start off with our winner, and that is Patricia Shitsima. And Patricia, I think, has been celebrating ever since she won. She was the overall winner of the 2024 Investor of the Year event. So Patricia, I'm going to hand over to you just to briefly introduce yourself to the audience. You just got to switch your sound on there, Patricia. You're
Good
on mute.
afternoon.
There we
Yes,
go.
good
We can hear you now.
everyone. I'm Patricia Stemmer, as already introduced, the overall winner for Investor of the Year 2024. I also won other awards. The winner for Inner City and also for the big leagues. A woman, but playing in the big league space. I'm the CEO of Bono Property Group. I'm very honored to be here today and to have been recognized by SAPIN as the Investor of the Year 2024. Thank you.
Wonderful. Great having you here, Patricia, and congratulations. I think wonderful. I think you've done really, really well. And then, of course, our winner of the intermediate category, Robert Tabohot Sitkowa. I probably said that wrong, Rob, because I'm going to call you Rob T. Please correct me.
Yes.
But Rob, please introduce yourself.
Fantastic, Neil. Neil, thank you so much. My name is Robert Tebohotsekwa. So a bit confusing with my surname there because of the O and the A. I'm a real estate investor. business coach and keynote speaker. I'm the CEO of Hashtags Properties and the founder of Hashtags Properties. And I'm delighted to have been the winner of the intermediate category for Investor of the Year. A big award for me and a big award to Real Estate South Africa, to the property practitioner, being a master practitioner in real estate. I think not only do we speak to the investor side of real estate, but to the side which sells property, to have it both joined, the value creation and the disposal of property to new owners is an incredible feat. And a big thank you to REI for this platform. A big thank you to SAPIN and APSA for the Investor of the Year program. Thank you, Neil.
Wonderful. Great having you, Rob T. And we look forward to hearing your story. And then, of course, the last but not least, the winner of I like to call it the starter or emerging category, not the beginner category, but it is Percy Madiba. So, Percy, would you like to introduce yourself to the audience, please?
Yes, absolutely, Neil. Thank you for having me. My name is Percy Madiba. I'm a property entrepreneur. I'm also a real estate agent. I won the Youth Investor of the Year 2024, as well as the Starter or the Emerging Investor of the Year 2024. I'm excited to be with you here and to share my story.
Wonderful. It's great having all of you here. I'm excited for all of you as well. And I think it was such a wonderful, glittering event. And you were all worthy winners, very well presented. So thank you for that. And now we just want to share your story with everybody else. We just want to take it a lot wider. So first of all, Patricia, maybe let's start off with you. And after winning something like that, it could be sort of quite overwhelming. And I mean, maybe just tell us, has your life changed somewhat since it? I mean, you must be living on the clouds.
Wow. It's so surprising to actually say, yes, my life has changed. And you'll be surprised, how is it possible that life can change instantly? But my life has changed. I got big awards on that day. Everything was a shock for me. It felt like I was dreaming when I was standing on that stage. Like maybe I'll wake up and this was just a dream. And when the whole crowd was screaming, and I realized this is actually happening, everything in me changed that tomorrow is going to be a whole new day because my dreams as a property investor, property developer, I have milestones per annum. And immediately looking at the crowd, I knew my milestones were not enough for the position and the platform in which SAPIN has now placed me. And when I woke up that Sunday, I couldn't feel myself. I love church. I go to church every Sunday. Believe me, I did not go. I just couldn't feel myself. Like everything about me has just changed. And I'm trying to find that which has really changed, trying to find me in this new position that I'm now placed. And I slept the whole day. And that afternoon,
Wonderful.
my family took me out to celebrate and because they could see that I think I'm lost. And when I woke up on Monday, I had a wedding on Saturday, and it's my adopted daughter's wedding, and I was the coordinator. So I couldn't find I have to think about what I want and the wedding that is coming, and everything was just too much happening for me. But one thing I know is that everything has changed about me. Everything has changed about my organization, the strategies that I had, the plans that I had for 2025 and 2026. The plans have really grown bigger. I've already received so many offers from people and organizations that want to amplify my dream to see me being one of the biggest property investors in the country. And having all of those offers already, definitely my life has changed.
Wonderful. That's fantastic. That's what a wonderful story. And congratulations and well deserved. And I think it's so good to, just to see Black female in South Africa leading the way. They're wonderful. Congratulations. And okay, Rob T, has your life changed? How's your life changed?
Well, Neil, it's incredible what this platform can do for one. First and foremost, one feels like a celebrity after winning. Imagine what Patricia feels like and me in the intermediate space, And it's amazing how an event of the sort and an accolade of the sort can change the trajectory of one's plans. Like Patricia mentioned, the milestones, what you thought was now a credible milestone, becomes a ridiculed element where you need to further it, because now the milestones are, because you've achieved this, you can do so much more. And I think that is what it speaks to. And the celebrity element of it, well, in my case, the CEO of the PPRA, Tato Ramaidi, was at the function as a guest judge. And what that has done for me, I got so many messages, so many calls from industry players congratulating me. And I think the one that stood out the most was a written message from Robosa, which is an organization that represents real estate. And that
Robosa
said to me, T, you are unstoppable. Well, I think that follows an accolade and achievement that happened this year where the company that I had founded had reached $1 billion in sales. And in the same year, I become Investor of the Year in the intermediate space, which still means that there's space for growth. So, Patricia, I shall be making a call through to you for coaching because I am looking to go to big leagues.
Wonderful. That's fantastic. Well done, Rob T. That's fantastic. Nice story as well. And I noticed that the PRA questioned you about your FFC, your Fidelity Fund Certificate,
Yes.
and they were quite indignant that you need it, as a developer. Percy, tell us your story. How's your life changed?
All right, look, Neil. When I entered the Investor of the Year, it was just plain for me. I just applied and then I left it like that. Then we kept on doing the judging over the process. Then I realized this thing is getting serious. I need to also get serious. I started upping my game in terms of presentation, learning about my deal. I had a friend who was encouraging me to push in terms of my presentation and improving them over and over again. So on the day of the event on the 14th of September, I just thought, okay, at least if I can just get one award and go home, I would be happy. Then I went on the stage multiple times, and now I also felt like a celebrity as well. So I've also got a lot of good relationships at the event. The guys from APSA, the guys from TAF who are asking me to say, Percy, look, get deals and we will support you in terms of funding. Do go bigger now and do bigger deals. So Rob T and Patricia, I will also be coming for mentorships for intermediate and the big leagues.
Wonderful. And it's such a critical point that you brought up over there, Percy, because the relationships in this industry, what you've created, you've opened doors now, and where you can grow and take it to the next level. And I'm talking on behalf of each and every single one of you. And it's those connections you make, those people you make, and they see that you got to a certain point and you want to expand. So let's go a little bit back now. And I'm going to ask each of you the same question as well, starting with you, Patricia, in terms of your initial motivation. I mean, what was the initial inspiration, or maybe that moment, that pivotal moment that first sparked your interest in property investment? And what is the challenges that you encountered in those early days? Patricia, we can start off with you.
Wow, my journey started a while ago. So I'm a professional with a master's degree in environmental management. So I've been an environmentalist for over 18 years. But what I loved the most throughout the journey was to see young people being given an opportunity to be something better, anything that they never dreamed of. So I would take this little salary that I receive and pay for a student to go to university or to do anything that can just change their life a bit or change their direction. This got very exciting for me, but I'm stealing a lot from my family. And I knew that this was not fair. I needed something sustainable if I want to continue doing this. So I decided I can no longer be in the corporate world. It's not working for me. If I want to be part of those who are changing South Africa one day at a time, I need to find a platform in which I can sustain my life, my families, and continue doing what I love, which is youth empowerment. And that is where property investment came in. In my early 20s, I owned 2 townhouses. I disposed of them. I made good cash. I'm like, wow, this is good. So at the time when I was around 35, 36, 37, I remembered my early 20s where I made good cash quickly from the 2 townhouses that I sold. And I thought maybe this is what I need for me to continue being a woman, a youth empowerment advocate. So that's where my love for property came in. And in 2015, 2016, the Fees Must Fall protest, and then the then president announcing free education for majority of South Africans. I was like, good shot. And this is what I want. I'm going to start in property. I want to go big. I don't know how to start. And that's when I paid for a very expensive mentorship program. But for me, it wasn't expensive because the knowledge that comes with it, I knew that it is the knowledge I can take for the lifetime. And I went through that program and I was buying small houses then. I'll have 10 students here, 10 students there, 8 students there. And then as I went through this mentorship program, that is when I was introduced to big investment or commercial investment. As a woman, people came in to assist me to walk the journey. It took 3 years for me to even go to having the first deal as a with 376 students. But the love for young people was the driving factor for me finding myself in the property investment space. The biggest challenge, though, was that as women, we are not necessarily trusted in the space, it's men dominated. So when you appear in spaces, you are not given the benefit of the doubt. You always have to prove yourself. You always have to go beyond. Accessing funding also was not as easy. I'm grateful for the GPF that then had the EPP program where women were considered. And I was among the women then who were being considered by the institution. And that's how funding came. But I visited so many other institutions. Because I'm a woman, I was not given that opportunity. But I had to continue to push to say, I want to do this. This is what I want to do in order to contribute towards job creation and empowerment of young people. And I continued going. GPF came in and my first development came in. And I'm managing these things without the necessary experience, but the passion for property and the youth led me to doing it successfully. So by the time I did this deal that I won the Investor of the Year now, I was already in a space in which I understand what property investment is, and I could do the deals myself. I could even negotiate my terms with the funders because now I consider myself in the big leagues. I understand what this means. I understand the kind of investment I want and what I don't like in a deal, what works for me, what doesn't work for me. And if it works for me, it doesn't work for you as a funder, I'm able to now walk away and say, this is not going to work. I'm going to find it with the next funder. So I'm now at a very empowered position to determine how I want my deals to look like. But it came with lots of challenges indeed.
Wonderful. It's such a, it's just amazing when we listen to you, how much you've grown and, from where you started and all the steps. So if there's any other females out there looking to go to the same level, follow Patricia. I mean, what she's just said now is really a blueprint of how you can actually build success. And kudos to you again, Patricia. Well done.
Thank you so much.
Getting challenges all the way, and you just got to keep pushing through, never to give up and carry on.
Yes.
Rob T, tell us your story, where it all started, and what sparked that initial interest.
Oh my goodness. If you've heard anything about my background, I was in banking for just close to 10 years. And in my final years in banking, I operated in the private banking space. So that speaks to a different client base that is orientated in investment. They're looking at growing portfolios. They're looking at their private bankers, helping them to identify opportunities. And really that really engraved a lot of desire to actually go into the property space, seeing what my clients were doing with the property space. So through being in a banker and studying part-time, I concluded my degree, majored in management, and dropped accountancy for psychology, because I believed that the numbers would always add up, but it's the people that were complex. So it wasn't the numbers really. So from there, I ventured into the insurance space. In the insurance space, I did a lot of coaching. So I really liked the insurance space, and my journey there was more of an individual that moved into the space of coaching and focusing on sales-driven structure. From there, I moved to the legal space where I worked for an attorney firm. And all this, yes, incrementally, they seem like individual entities, but really, when you put them together, they all have something in common, which is property. The banking sector, the insurance sector, and the legal sector, which is the transferring. So in my case, I worked for a conveyancing firm, which basically heavily worked on the transfer of property. And that actually even drove me further. But my first transaction in property really happens when I was a banker and my mom's property was actually repossessed and I had to buy it from an investor. So it was a push into the right direction where I had to save a family property in my individual capacity for continuity, for family, for community. But more so, it was an exposure into what I actually liked. You know, when I saw the whole transaction, I was involved in the capturing of the application, in the whole process till it was granted, the attorney process, the insurance process. So when I look at my journey, I always say, real estate chose me, because I wouldn't have chosen all of this in line. And where I am, I'm like, oh gosh, they add up. Look at all of them. I need all of them in my daily activity in order to make this work. Long story short, I jump into the real estate space, leave my employer, who was very baffled by the idea that I am keen to be self-employed from a well-paying job and having access to a lot of the things I wouldn't otherwise have access outside of a well-equipped law firm, to go and start my own real estate agency, to basically curb a gap that existed in real estate and say, yes, I understand real estate in South Africa, but how about somebody creating an incubation, an accelerator in the real estate space? And that was my cue. In so doing, I then encountered developments again. Some of my business partners were doing developments, single properties that they were building, and mine was, as a mentor and as the CEO of the business, I'd need to move up a notch. If my guys are building individual properties, clearly I need to move up a notch and do something bigger as the leader in that space. So that also being a motivating factor. I invested a lot in my business partners where they were building individual properties. I was very involved in their properties. I think after we had completed in excess of 20 properties with individual partners, I made a decision that I need to build an estate, actually. I need to build in an enclosed dwelling space where people can enjoy a safe, secure living environment without highly densifying it, keeping the modern lifestyle and structuring it as such. And that's how my deal came together, by removing a whole church of 4,000 square meters and putting the deal together. And that was my early days of real estate and how I came across this particular deal.
Wonderful. No, great. So you transformed from an investor into a developer, which is fantastic.
Absolutely.
It's a great story. And I think, if we look at both Patricia and yourself, how you've sort of transformed from small and, when you start scaling to the next level, that is something, sort of significant. And now we're going to ask Percy, because Percy, and as I said right at the outset, I don't like the word beginner. I rather like emerging starter investor, because everybody starts somewhere. But we start there and we go to next level. So Percy, tell us your story. What got you into property initially? What sparked the interest?
All right, Neil. It started around 2019. I was still in university doing my final year. A video popped up on YouTube. It was saying how to become a millionaire in 3 years. and that was really interesting for me. I then watched the video, and the guy suggested that if I really wanna become successful, I should read books, I should get around successful people, and I should set goals. Then I started reading books. It was something accessible, and the first book, when I researched what is the most powerful book I can read on finance and to get ahead, it was Rich Dad Poor Dad. I read Rich Dad Poor Dad. Robert Kiyosaki spoke about one of the back-to-back deals he did, and then that was interesting for me. Then I started searching on the internet for events or seminars where I can learn property investing in South Africa. So I was very ambitious. I thought within a year I would be owning my own big building. Then it was quite a different story, but I learned through the journey. So from the first year, the second year, I never got any deals. I think on the third year, around 2021, that's when I started getting some deals back to backs, where I just flip, offer to purchases and make profit from that. And then around 2022, I got this deal which I entered for the Investor of the Year award with, where I made over 125,000 rands using none of my own money. And with the funds, I was able to buy my first property, as well as, okay, I bought my first property through a pay slip because I'm working as an electrical engineer, just that it's a recent job I got. And then I was using that money to pay for the transfer fees of my first property investment. So I'm in my early stages. Yeah, so I'm looking forward, and I'm happy that I'm in a network of like-minded people. In 2022, I attended the event at Patricia's student accommodation. So when she says she's a youth empowerment advocate, I am a testament to that. I popped up at their student accommodation. They were empowering their students there, and I was one of the externals. They allowed me to come in, and I learned, and that's when I connected with Sapin, and I got into the youth mentorship at Sapin, and then the journey continues. I'm learning from Sapin, from Patricia, from everyone within the organization and the community. That's my
Wonderful.
story, Mr. Neil.
No, it's a lovely story. It's a great story. And there's so many people that have read the Rich Dad Poor Dad, and so many people, and I think it's probably the number one selling financial sort of advice book for advice. And I think it's got a lot of people started for the first time to say, I need to get into property. So well done. I think it's a lovely story, and we're definitely going to be seeing you in the future going to next level. So let's talk a little bit about the project. Let's talk about your property, the one that obviously we looked at, I was one of the judges, and obviously we went into the different deals. And maybe let's talk about like a specific project, or this very significant one that you submitted, and just tell us a little bit about it. In terms of the market, why you went for that one, what your strategy was, and also, what were the benefits that made it successful? For example, did it have an effect on the community, etc.? So yes, and I know your story, Patricia, but I want to hear it again because it's such a lovely story. So tell us about that wonderful student accommodation project that you did.
Wow. So I chose this particular one because it was my latest project, and I think most impactful in the community. Whatever I do, I have the community in mind. I want to see people's lives changed. And if I have the platform to do so, I will do so. So it's called Primula House, but it's part of Opal Students family. So I've got a student brand called Opal Students. A very powerful, very active brand that I manage all my student accommodation. So I specialize in student accommodation with over 645 student beds already in the last 3 years only. And so when this project came about, it was me as a woman identifying a building and even packaging it on my own. So I packaged this project with a bankable business plan. I did my own feasibility. My husband will help me there and there, but he doesn't know how to put together a bankable business plan. So 100% reliant on me. So I really felt good that I'm in the space and I'm actually guiding men how to do it. So that for me was the most exciting. So I did the plan. It was then submitted to multiple funders or possible funders, and we got positives from all of them. From a business plan that I compiled, I was so proud of myself. This business plan includes a community building, a youth empowerment aspect of it under the umbrella of our students. Because my intention with having these properties, as I said earlier, is to be able to assist or to empower young people. So I get these buildings and I fill them with young people, and then I focus on them on a daily basis as to how I can impact their life, how I can redirect their strategies. How can I provide opportunities that can just change their lives instantly, or to prepare them to be better leaders of influence in the future? So for me, that is the end goal. Yes, there's a big building. The return on investment are great. The net income per month are great. That is not the excitement for me. The excitement is what can I do with what I'm getting from this property for the young people of South Africa? So yes, I compiled the business plan. I got the funding. I actually led the refurbishment of this building, and also because we had to change it for it to be suitable for accommodation of you of students. And I was actually leading that whole process, even the procurement, the specifications toward the procurement, the leading of all the service providers or contractors that were there. And my husband is like my right-hand man. So I give him instructions and he must go and make sure that these things are done successfully. But for me as a woman, a project of over 33 million, when we have added other things, and I'm just a woman leading that and leading it successfully in 2 months. That's one thing I did not tell. The building was registered on the 23rd of December, 2022. And on the 31st of January, that for the following year, the building was ready to take TUT students. But the work that was done there, I think it was a 6-month work, but I was able to divide this work to so many service providers and having multiple project managers of the small projects in between, and making sure that in 5 weeks this building is ready to take students, it's accredited, it met all the requirements. And I am a woman. There's no better excitement and pride than that. And I felt that I'm representing all women of South Africa to say we are so well capable. We can do all these things successfully like anybody, if only we can set our mind to. So my project is very, for me, it's one of my pride and joy, looking at everything else that I had to do as a woman. And last year we had 245 bed space, and this year I increased to 270. I'm still leading all that process. We are now at 270. What greater joy that is. For the young people
Wonderful.
of South Africa, that is even the best. The student life, the community impact programs, everything we do for the community, and especially the young people, that is the best. And you can ask the young people. Percy also attested to that. When we say youth empowerment, we mean youth empowerment. We live for that, we do that, and the youth can go out there and attest to what we talk about when we say youth empowerment.
I can hear just the passion oozing out of you here when you talk,
Yeah.
Patricia. Oh, it's wonderful to listen to you, and you are such a great inspiration, I
Thank
think,
you.
not only
Thank
to
you.
women, but to any investors out there. So well done again. So Rob T, tell us about your big investment. I mean, you moved to a property developer. So tell us about your big deal, your big significant project, and why you went in that direction.
Absolutely. Neil, in my case, I'm still adjusting to the term developer. I still classify myself as a property practitioner, and in that space, there lies the opportunities and the properties that are there in my direct line. But certainly, as a developer and a property practitioner, one looks at the landscape of South Africa's demographic, South Africa's spatial planning. And if one really focuses on my deal, one realizes that the deal is really focused on housing the middle class. Housing the middle class in areas where they otherwise would not be able to live, number one. Number two, where they otherwise would not afford to live in those areas. So if you look at the area in which I did my development, it's an area called Park Hill Gardens. Anything famous about Park Hill Gardens is the idea that Ernie Els, the golfer, he lived there. So it's Ernie Els's hood, as we say. So Ernie lived in that area and he played golf. And that gives you an idea of how big those properties are in terms of scale. In terms of square meters, you do not find properties under 2,000 square meters in that area. So they start at 2,000 and they go up right into the 6,000 square meters. And this particular one was a church. And given that I need to use this excuse always, that there's another church down the road, that gave me leeway to then see that the space could be utilized. It could be utilized for residential dwelling. And that meant that the whole process of this development really went back to the very start. So in essence, heritage needed to be consulted in order for this transaction to be done. So the idea of adding value and creating value for me as a property practitioner starts at the idea that there's vacant land that can be used to create value and dispose of a property where value can be appreciated and it can be a utilized asset. Land in itself has a certain value, but when you build on land, you create value, higher value. And as a developer, that was my ideal start, to think about the idea that a marginalized people could start living in areas where they're close to amenities, close to private schools, and close to those things, leaving me with the question of, would I live there? If I were to build this, would I actually live? Am I creating a product that I otherwise wouldn't appreciate or wouldn't dare to live in? But that was my home as well. So I did live in that property for a year, and that was home. So living amongst clients that you've built properties for is incredible. And mine was summed up in an easy way: a whole church, which took up 4,000 square meters of land, removed to accommodate 8 households of young professionals that are living in those properties, and with a touch of an estate type of living, and not densifying it too much, and giving enough space for a garden, for your pets, and for a lovely driveway, which is a right of way for access for them, which they use as a communal area. The kids ride their bikes there, and the little ones on their scooters, and the slightly older ones on their skateboards. Neil, I cannot account for the satisfaction that I get when I drive past there and hear the kids on a Sunday afternoon after church in their church attire, some still in jeans and whatever, playing in the driveway and laughing and thinking, if it wasn't for the developer, if it wasn't for the banker who went into insurance, who then tried the legal space, who went into real estate, this would not be a reality. And that for me is what could literally put me into tears, emotionally so, as a result of the idea of taking land and creating something of value through it. And that's my deal.
I think it's a great deal. But, and I think, Rob T, it's very important to point out that, there's a lot of developers out there that don't immediately make profit, and it was a profitable deal. So you managed to do everything that was right for the community, to fulfill a need out there into the market, and most important, to make it profitable as well. So well done to you.
Absolutely.
Great story. Percy, tell us your story, your deal, your big significant deal that you did. I know they call this beginner thing, but so what? It was a big deal. Tell us about it. You just on mute there, Percy. You just have to unmute yourself.
Sorry about that.
No problem. No problem.
All right, I'll talk about the deal that I entered the Investor of the Year Awards. This particular deal was a back-to-back deal. I had people, a couple which was looking for a house in Chawelo. they previously said their child couldn't get accepted at university because they didn't have, proof of residence. Where they were renting, the owner couldn't provide the proof of residence, so they wanted a home. So fortunately, I had a seller, someone who was selling the house, and they wanted to sell the property. I think it's been 2 years trying to sell this particular property with different I think it was agents. And then they saw my marketing that I'm looking for houses in the area. She asked me, will you be able to buy my property, or at least get it sold? Because I've been trying to sell this house. I'm relocating. I'm no longer staying here. I can't manage these tenants. And then I said, let's look into it. We went to see the house, we discussed, and we reached an agreement. She was happy with what she was getting. And then on the other side, since I had these potential buyers and they were happy with the product and the price at which the property was at, we got into an agreement and made a deal where the seller was able to get rid of this particular property. The new buyers were able to secure a home, and then I was also able to make funds, which I then went on to pay the transfer fees of my first property, where I'm housing 4 families at the moment. And I was also able to pay for my younger sister's school fees. She couldn't register this year in particular, but I was able to resolve that. And I'm looking at it this way, that if my younger sister couldn't register, there are other young students who are facing the same issue, and they can't register because of funds. They don't have funding. And I'm actually motivated, inspired to work hard so that I can not only help my family, but also help other people and students, because I have seen the struggles and the challenges we face at school and in general in life. Yeah, that's my deal, Neil.
Wonderful. I think it's such a great deal. Wonderful. And I think, such a noble purpose over there. So well done, Percy. It's fantastic. And I want to just, I don't know where the time's going, but I want to ask lots of questions, and we want, but the one I want to ask, and it's one which is, it is such a critical one, because, it seems to some people what you did is so easy. And, we get faced with challenges all the time. And sometimes you actually get faced with challenges. You say, enough is enough. I don't really feel like doing this, or I'm going to kind of sort of just move. What do I do? And one thing about challenges, you've got to tackle them. So Patricia, starting with you, maybe just share, maybe just one significant challenge you faced in your investment journey. How did you overcome it? And more importantly, what lessons did you learn? And I'm going to ask the same for you, Rob, and also Percy. So starting with you, because it's so important that, there's going to be obstacles that's going to come along the way.
So, because this is not the first time I'm in the property investment space, people think it is now easy for me to do. People think I'm getting it easy. And even after receiving all these awards and we're receiving lots of calls and emails, you still have people who think you get it easy. People don't understand that when you're in the property investment space and you are a woman, you always have to continuously prove yourself that you are capable of doing this and doing it successfully. So that as a woman, you still encounter financial challenges. Even with our own banks, when you go to them and you want to take a loan, it is not as easy as a woman. They want you to always have a man next to you to back you up. And I'm saying, no, but I'm already in the investment. I'm a big league. Trust me with that loan. But I've never been able, this is the truth, I've never been able to take a loan in relation to my business on my own, regardless of being in the big leagues. So these challenges as a woman never ends. But I know that if my husband could go there on his own, which he has done, he gets those opportunities. But I must always take him with. But do I have to sit now and say, oh, as a woman, I always have to prove myself, and there's a husband who must come with me? No, because this is what I want, and I want the banks and the financial institutions out there to start trusting us as women. I'm going to persevere for the other woman out there who wants to do the same as I do. Believe that I'm given this opportunity to open the way for many women to come into the space. And if I'm able to persevere and close off on many other gaps, I'm going to do that so that the next woman can find it better than it is. So we always encounter challenges, even just to, if I am going to view buildings and spaces, and when I appear as a woman, I was viewing buildings like 2 weeks and 3 weeks ago. I'm a woman, and it's a flat. It's like 12 stories building. They don't understand. They think I'm wasting their time. They think I'm wasting their time. But if I appear with a man accompanying me, they're going to attend to me and show me every single space that is important in that building. And I'm saying, but this shall come to an end. I know the space. I've been successful in it. When I enter a building, I know what to look for. I can determine if this is a good investment, if this is not a good investment. Why do you want me to be accompanied by a male figure for you to trust me with it? So these challenges, I mean, never stops. But for me, I'm never going to stop because they are challenges. I believe I'm doing it for the rest of the women out there.
Well, Teresa,
Yeah.
that's such an important point I think you've raised there. And I think, whether it's you're a financier or whatever, there has to be sort of a mindset change. And if we
Yeah.
look at, females are the ones who, if we look at 55%, I think even 60% are the ones that are getting bonds approved. But when it comes to big league, where you're playing in, there has to be a mindset change. Just a suggestion there, Patricia. I suggest you carry that Investor of the Year award with them, and then you go to the bank and say, won't you hold that, please? Do you have one of those? Well, I've got one of these. And I think this is something that you need to do. You need to tell, please hold that for me. And then when you're thinking about giving the finance, just have a look at that. And if you don't have anybody that does not have that award, then you should be awarding me the finance.
I like that. I like that.
So I would say carry it very close to you when you go see the bankers, Patricia. Well done. Lovely story. Your challenges out there that you faced, Rob T.
Well, Patricia, you've put it very well, I want to start my account by talking a bit about accessing funding through your traditional means. And having been a banker, I would know best. Can you imagine? I'm expecting the banks to come to the party in terms of financing. And challenges, yes, definitely. While in my case, with the development space, you encounter the idea of dealing with town planning department. That's challenging on its own because it's a lot of departments that are involved in order to make the deal work, number one. And then the financing element of it, Neil, really, I think I'm taking the same advice you're giving to Patricia. I'm taking that award with when I go see my business banker, and I'm going to put it right front and center and say to him, listen, I didn't get this award for nothing, so that should count for something on my balance sheet, and on some experience, because there was hundreds and hundreds of applicants for this competition, and for one to have been a winner puts you aside, it puts you in a league of your own. And in so saying, I almost want to encourage a different form of investing and looking at investing for entrance into the space. The likes of Percy, the likes of myself, Patricia, you big business. You are in a different league. For us, we're still acquiring land under 10 million, and we still required to provide collateral for it. And in our case, the value really is when the land has been subdivided. And that's really when you have value. But remember, that period is an 18-month period where you're waiting for that property to be rezoned, and there's expenses prior to that. So if we are looking at structures in communities and structures in banks, I think a leniency towards the fact that the land itself is an asset. So if the asset is in place, they should give you preferential treatment on the basis of you're creating more value with what you have. So my challenge was actually going through that, and I myself who used a private investor for this, and having to pitch the idea of it's an investment, my exit strategy, and my strategy being a development to build and then sell, and giving my investor security over the fact that if I subdivide, you've got more value than what we have this property as a whole. So that speaks to just the challenges that one has to hold, because yes, true, you could try and facilitate a process where you acquire the land through your personal means, but then you're servicing a bond for 2 years that you can't do anything on. Literally. So it does become very expensive, and one really is looking at exploring. And hence the SAPN program and other parties that are playing in this space become crucial for one's growth to becoming big business, to go to where Patricia is. We need those, the same way I speak about the stars aligning for things to happen. We need businesses to align and bridge the gaps in order for us to do a step-to-step process to get to the other side. Because in all honesty, there really is a mitigated element of risk in the property sector, given that there's a land and there's an asset, and it in itself is value. So I think I speak like a banker in that space, and I hope it goes through to the bankers and they start looking at us differently. Perhaps maybe in future we might not need to bring our trophies along with. They would otherwise know if we're pitching an idea for development or for growth, for student accommodation, for increasing value to aid housing. It should be looked at in a different eye, and not from the clerk who sits to assist you to then the junior manager to then the manager, because this is actually at the higher managers level. And those are the challenges that one faces: the speed of work from council. Well, the building itself, the challenges are just managing the challenges, and those can be basically improved as you go. I think Patricia would know, the longer and the more you do it, the better your structure becomes, the more refined it is, the better your process can operate seamlessly. And that being a minor challenge, but I think the greatest challenge is the acquisition of capital, and that it runs smoothly from there onwards. Because once you get that first step right, the second step is easier, where you get the banks to fund you through progress payments. That is a well-structured means to actually propel the project forward, because they pay you according to what you have done in progress payments. So that is a well-structured design, but we need that for the beginning stages of the business. And I think that is where the biggest challenge comes in, especially when it comes to my development and my ability to expand, because I'm looking at doing multiple developments simultaneously, because the art and the craft has been learned. It's a matter of now duplicating it into different spheres and diversifying it. But then it speaks to the idea of the capital again. So
Yes.
yeah, that's my
Yeah.
account for the challenges.
Wonderful. No, great. Thanks for that. Percy, your challenges and some of the lessons you've learned from that?
Look, nearly as a young person in the industry, when I started, I struggled with people taking me serious. My clients, the sellers, the agents, they didn't take me serious because I didn't have anything to show. I mean, when I started, I would go view deals walking, didn't even have a mode of transport, but I just kept on going and viewing deals, viewing deals. Then eventually I started getting some deals. While I get deals, and now I lose them. So I struggled also with speed implementation. So I needed guidance in terms of mentorship, someone who would, when I have deals, I would sit down with them, would go through the offer and would make sure that we are protected and we are binding the other party. So I would say those are my major challenges.
Okay, wonderful. Okay, so we're coming close to the end. We've still got about 8 minutes or so to go. And obviously, I want to maximize our time together here, that we've got. It's been a fascinating discussion. We've really got some fantastic feedback from the audience. It's very inspirational. And I think all of you are very inspirational. And we can all look at you and we can say, wow, well done, for what you've done. It's fantastic. So I'm going to ask each of you to keep it to around about 2 minutes each. What is your advice for new investors, in terms of aspiring investors, particularly those from underrepresented backgrounds or challenging circumstances? Now, we had a question, Patricia, which was actually directed at you, and I want you to maybe just incorporate that in terms of your answer. So I might give you another 30 seconds on top of that. How was Patricia able to purchase those 2 initial townhouses? And that was right at the start when you were telling us your story where you started, Patricia. And then it's to all of you, what property investment courses did the winners complete? So first of all, what advice would you give to aspiring investors, particularly those underrepresented background, challenging circumstances? And Patricia, how would you able to purchase the houses and what investment courses?
Hey, thank you. The first two townhouses that I procured in my early 20s, that was between 23 and 27 years. I already had two townhouses. I was blessed with a good job then, and I was able to finance them through the bank. Remember, I was not a property investor. I didn't know all these strategies that we're talking about here. So for me, I had money, my pay slip allowed, and I managed to get bonds for the two. And a few years later, I disposed of and I made over 250,000 combined. The different courses that I attended, maybe I can just talk about challenges for now. Oh, not challenges, I mean advice. I would like to advise everyone who wants to come in, especially from the previously disadvantaged, to be patient. When we come into the property investment space, we think we're going to make money over time, overnight. We think that we're going to make 1 million in 3 years, and it is not always the case. Sometimes it will take you 10 years. I say that property investment, it's a lifetime. You are actually building legacy for your children and your children's children. You might not necessarily enjoy the benefits of it. You need to be patient enough to wait for the process to unfold because it is a slow process. Sourcing of funding sometimes takes 2 years, especially if you are in the big league. It will take 2 years to get to that. Even the actual building, if you are in the development space, currently I'm working in the development space of 108 units. It's going to take me 2 to 3 years. I have to be patient enough. When I'm sourcing the funding and building the team, the professional team and all of that, it takes time. It needs your patience. So be patient with everything, but invest in yourself. Learn, study, go into mentorship program. Find all the courses with Sapin and other platforms that are available. You can go on Facebook, on YouTube, or any other on Google to find all these relevant courses in South African platform. Invest in yourself so that by the time you get these opportunities, you are well learned, you understand what you want to do, and you've got the relevant knowledge for the kind of investment strategy you would like to exercise or to practice. So I think those are my best advices for now. Thank you.
Great advice. I think it's awesome advice. I think the best investment anybody can make is in yourself. So I think well done, Patricia. I think you've left the people with lots of. Robty, you've got 2 minutes. We are running out of time.
Fantastic. I'll sum it up just in a few words. You are your best brand. So investing in oneself in terms of education, the Me PTY Ltd is the best concept that one can ever invest in to invest in themselves. Incremental growth is the best form of growth. Start small, seek education as far as you can, build equity and try and save. That is to the young investor. If you have an opportunity to buy a property, whatever the value is, buy it, build equity, because that is the equity that will help you tomorrow to get started. Build a portfolio. Sapin has the best program for this, where you have a coach, a mentor, and a sponsor. Because if you have that, your daily coach in touch with you often, your mentor once in a while, and your sponsor speaks for you in rooms where you can't participate in, and they're able to know what it is that you need. So to the young investor, here's the saying: good, better, best. Never let it rest until the good is better and the better is best. And good luck to you on your investment journey. Thank you.
Wonderful. Great. Thanks, Rob T. Just on the incremental growth, because there was a question on, is fast growth good or bad in property investment? And maybe you just want to comment on that because you brought up the whole incremental growth thing. Do you have a thoughts? Yeah.
Absolutely. If you have an opportunity to do big growth, do it. The opportunity lies in your hands, you do it. Because therein lies the learning. So says my saying as well. If you understand my journey, I moved from doing individual units to doing a whole complex of 8 units because the opportunity was there. So I encourage that.
Great, nice answer. Thanks very much, Rob T. And then Percy, your thoughts around advice for investors, particularly you, that's more of a newbie compared to Rob and to Patricia. So your thoughts around that, your advice for aspiring investors.
Like my mentor said, investing in oneself, getting someone who have walked the journey, and just starting. That's the most important one.
Okay, great. Awesome. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask each one of you, because we just have, I'm going to say 30 seconds, just your final wrap, your final words, just in summation of today. Maybe leave the audience just with something that they can take away after this one. I think it's been a really insightful, fantastic discussion. And I want to thank you all for all your insights. And once again, also congratulate you all and encourage you to put that award under your arm when you go and visit the banks. And so starting with you, Patricia, your final thoughts, your parting shots to the audience, and maybe a little bit of inspirational advice.
Properties investment is what you want. Just start and make sure that you have invested in yourself. And for women out there, please join us. Let us come together and make this more successful for our space so we can have a good representation of women in property investment. I'm tired of being the only woman in meetings. Please join me in those meetings.
Wonderful. That's our winner, our investor of the year winner, Patricia Shitsima. And she is incredible and she's done wonderful things and she's leading the pack. And in fact, soon when Patricia walks in the room, the bankers are going to shudder, and we include the men in that. So with that award that comes along. So well done. Keep it up. Keep up the good work. Your final words there, Rob T.
Absolutely. To the aspiring property investors and developers, mine is to say to you, set the goals, begin with the end in mind, and your strategy should always be a win-win to your investors and your partners. So that's from Steve Covey, who speaks about beginning with the end in mind and a win-win strategy. If you have that in mind, you're home and away. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you. That's Rob T, our intermediate winner for the Investor of the Year. Thank you. And then last but not least, our starter emerging winner. And so your final words there, Percy.
Yeah, 100%. I read a quote: "The secret of getting ahead is getting started." Which I mean, audience, if they are looking to invest in property, just get started.
Love it.
That's
I think
it.
that's a great way, and it's such a motivational thing. So once again, I want to thank our panel, to Patricia, to Rob T, and to Percy. Thank you very much. You were awesome today. You shared some wonderful, wonderful ideas and lots of inspiration. We got lots of feedback. There's lots of love out there. You've done some fantastic things. You really are an inspiration to our next phase of investors that are coming in. So keep it up. We're going to see you shooting for the stars. We've got the stars in the background, and we just have to get the stars in your background over there as well, Patricia. But you've already shot out the stars so many times already. Maybe they've disappeared, that you shot them all away. You scared them. So, but before we close, I just want to remind our audience of our next webinar. We're doing a masterclass next Thursday from the same time. That's 12 o'clock to 1 o'clock. How to unlock wealth and advanced strategies to profit from Airbnb investments. And you're all welcome just to go on the REI website, or there's a link which is actually in the if you look at which box is it? It's not it's the info box, which is the chat box. You just go to the chat box there. There is a link there, and you can check it out there. And those of you who want to see the recording, this will be loaded onto the REI website, and you can view it at any time. To our audience, we appreciate your active participation, your engagement. We hope that you not only gain valuable knowledge and inspiration, but that you will act on the information that was shared today. Take care. Goodbye. Until next week, this is Neil Peterson alongside all the Investor of the Year winners for Patricia, Rob T, and Percy. Thank you very much. Wonderful. And this is Neil Peterson of Real Estate Investor, along with our Investor of the Year, signing out.